Dear soul, I'm here now, and I've been sent with urgency and love. Heaven has watched closely, and today, I bring a message that cannot wait. If your heart has been restless, if you've felt a silence you couldn't explain, if something inside of you has been aching without reason, then you must hear this message until the very last word, because if you don't, you might misunderstand everything and risk losing something sacred. I bring you a revelation from above, and it's not by chance that you are listening to this right now. There's a reason this message found you. Your soul has been seeking clarity, yearning for answers, reaching out in the quiet hours of the night. And now, the heavens have responded. The one your heart still calls your soulmate made a choice that might look, from the outside, like distance, like silence, like surrender. But what you haven't seen, what no one has told you, is what truly happened in the hidden corners of that decision. You are here because you're meant to know, not just what was done, but why it was done. And this why could change the way you see everything. I ask you to listen with your soul. I ask you to stay, because there is so much your heart needs to understand today. If you leave now, you will miss a truth that has the power to open doors, or close them forever. This is not just a message, it is a moment of divine alignment. And yes, this is about the one you love. Yes, this is about your soulmate. But more than that, this is about you, your journey, your purpose, your heart's truth, and the love that was never lost, only misunderstood. If you feel this message reaching you, say amen in your heart. Speak it aloud if you need to, and write it below if you feel it's time to claim the love your soul has always known, because everything that follows in this message is what you were meant to hear. Now stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you is only the beginning. Dear soul, now that your heart is open and you've chosen to stay, let me guide you through the quiet path that led to this moment. I know you've been wondering why things happened the way they did. I know you've felt confused, maybe even abandoned, but I need you to understand that not all distance means rejection. Not all silence is absence. Sometimes silence is the space where the most important decisions are made. Your soulmate made a choice, and that choice was made in silence. Not because they didn't care, not because they forgot you, but because the noise of the world was too loud, and the only place they could hear their heart was in the quiet. They didn't run away, they withdrew inward, seeking answers, wrestling with a storm of feelings, torn between what they felt and what they feared. You may have looked around and seen nothing, no message, no call, no explanation, and in that absence, your mind may have filled in the gaps with doubt. Maybe you told yourself they stopped loving you. Maybe you believed they had given up. But the truth is, something sacred was happening behind that veil of silence. A sacred decision was unfolding. I was there. I witnessed it. I saw the tears they didn't let fall in front of anyone else. I heard the prayers they whispered when no one was listening. I felt the weight on their chest when they thought of you and didn't know how to bridge the space that had grown between you. They weren't indifferent. They were overwhelmed by emotion, overcome by the gravity of what they felt, and terrified of making the wrong move. Imagine standing at a crossroad where every step could either protect or destroy the one you love. That is where your soulmate stood. One path led to holding on, but in fear. The other led to letting go, temporarily, not because of lack of love, but out of deep love, a kind of love that says, I don't want to hurt you by staying when I'm not whole. And so, they chose silence. But silence is never empty. It's filled with everything that couldn't be said. It's filled with words too heavy to speak, too fragile to survive the air. In that silence lived their hopes, their doubts, their fears, and yes, their love for you. And while you were wondering what went wrong, they were asking the universe to protect you from the storm inside them. They were asking the angels to watch over you while they tried to find themselves again. This is why I've come today, to tell you that what looked like abandonment was, in truth, a desperate act of protection. Not because you needed protection from them, but because they needed to become someone worthy of the love they see in you. They didn't leave because they stopped feeling. They left because what they felt was too big, too real, too sacred to carry lightly. You might be wondering, but why couldn't they just tell me? Why didn't they trust me with the truth? Dear soul, when someone loves you so deeply, sometimes they fear that exposing their wounds will damage you too. They wanted to spare you the weight of their confusion. They wanted to figure it out on their own. hoping that when they return, they'll bring clarity instead of chaos, love instead of questions, peace instead of pain. This is the part no one tells you about soul connections. They are not always soft. Sometimes they burn. Sometimes they pull you apart, only to bring you back stronger. And that's what is happening now. The silence you've endured wasn't empty. It was sacred preparation. For them, for you, for the future that is still forming between your hearts. I know the nights you cried. I know how you questioned your worth. I know how the silence made you feel forgotten. But I am here now to tell you, you were never forgotten. You were being held in divine timing. Your love was never abandoned. It was being refined. In the waiting, in the silence, something powerful was awakening on both sides. And here's what's most important right now. The choice they made was not a rejection. It was a turning point, a painful one, a necessary one. It was the moment when your soulmate stopped pretending to be okay and started seeking a truth they could live with, a truth that could one day include you, fully, honestly, without fear. But there's something else I need to tell you, something even more important than what you've heard so far, because beyond the silence, beyond the fear, beyond the decision that felt like distance, lies the heart of why they chose what they chose. And that is what I will reveal next. So stay with me, dear soul. There is more you need to know, more that your heart has been waiting to understand. You have come this far because your spirit recognizes truth, and the truth isn't done speaking yet. Now take a breath. Feel the presence that surrounds you. Know that nothing has been lost. Something has been prepared. And the next part of this message will show you the depth of what your soulmate felt, and the moment they made the choice that changed everything. Stay with me, because what comes next will open your heart in ways you didn't know were possible. Dear soul, now that you've begun to understand the silence, let me take you deeper, into the very heart of the choice your soulmate had to make. Because this wasn't just a decision, it was a spiritual breaking point. A moment that demanded more from them than anyone around could possibly see. And I was there. I witnessed the agony behind the smile they tried to hold. I saw the storm in their eyes when they looked toward the future and couldn't see the way clearly. You need to know this. Loving you was never the problem. In fact, that love was the one constant they had when everything else inside them felt like it was falling apart. But sometimes, love is not about holding on tightly. Sometimes it's about loosening the grip and trusting that what is true will find its way back in the right time. That is what they tried to do. They didn't make this choice lightly. It was not made in anger or out of confusion alone. It was made through a flood of emotion, one that came in waves, sometimes with the fear of losing you forever, other times with the hope that stepping away might somehow bring you both closer to your truth. They sat with those feelings night after night. They stared into the darkness, asking for signs, asking for peace. They replayed your words. They remembered your eyes. They felt the warmth of your presence in their memory. And still, they felt torn, because their soul was calling them to heal, to transform, to walk a path that might not include you in that exact moment, but one they hoped would bring them back to you as someone whole, as someone able to love you not through pain, but through peace. Do you know what it's like to love someone so much that you walk away? Not because you want to, but because staying without being able to give your best would only hurt you both? That's what they faced. That's the depth of the pain they carried. There was a night when everything inside them broke open, when the fear of hurting you became greater than the comfort of holding on. They felt they weren't enough for you in that state, that maybe they were standing in the way of your growth, or worse, that they might pull you into their chaos. So they made the hardest choice of all, to let you go, for now. They hoped you would feel their love even in their absence. They hoped the silence would carry the message they couldn't say aloud. But they also knew the risk, that you might not understand, that you might feel abandoned, and that thought alone shattered them more than you will ever know. They cried, not once, not twice, but many nights, quiet tears, hidden from everyone else, not out of regret for loving you, but out of the pain of doing something that might be misunderstood, even though it came from love. Their soul whispered to the stars your name. They asked the heavens to protect you, to send you signs, to keep your heart open. They didn't stop loving you. They just couldn't carry both their healing and your expectations at the same time. And so they made a sacred sacrifice, choosing to step back so they wouldn't damage what they cherished most. But here is the deeper truth. Even while making that choice, they never truly left. They carried you in their thoughts, in their prayers, in the very essence of their growth. You were there, in every realization, every step forward, every moment they found a piece of themselves they had forgotten, because loving you reminded them of who they truly were. And stepping away was never about separation. It was about creating a space where both of you could evolve, so that when the time comes, and it will come, you can meet again, not in brokenness, but in completeness. I tell you this now, because your heart needs to stop carrying the weight of doubt. You were not left behind. You were loved so deeply that they chose the path of transformation over comfort. And now, their soul is longing for alignment again. But there's something even more powerful that you need to hear. Something they felt, but never said. A truth that shaped everything. Because this wasn't just about needing space. This was about protecting you from the battle they were facing inside. A battle they couldn't ask you to fight for them. And that truth is what I will bring to light in the next part of this message. Stay with me, dear soul, because as we move forward, I will show you the true weight of their love, and how that love is still very much alive, waiting, watching, and being guided back to you. There is a reason you haven't forgotten them, a reason you still feel them in your soul. Love like this doesn't disappear, it transforms, and you are now walking through the part of the journey where love is being refined by time, by distance, by grace. Take heart, the pain was real, but so was the purpose, and what's ahead is more powerful than what was lost. Stay close, because in the next message, you will finally understand why the universe allowed this distance, and what was born through it. Your soulmate's heart never stopped speaking, and now, it's time you heard what it's been saying all along. And before we continue with this very special message, I invite you to support this space of connection. Become a member of the channel, and if you feel this message is touching your heart, don't forget to click on thanks below the video. This helps us continue bringing messages full of love and hope like this one. Now, let's move on to what matters most. Dear soul, now that you've seen the pain behind the silence, and the love hidden inside the hardest choice your soulmate ever made, it's time for you to understand something even deeper. This wasn't just about emotion. This wasn't just about uncertainty or fear. What happened was guided, allowed, by something far greater than either of you could see in the moment. The universe was never asleep during your separation. On the contrary, the universe was completely awake, orchestrating every detail with divine timing. Sometimes what looks like loss is actually alignment. Sometimes distance is the beginning of the journey back to truth. You see, the human mind tries to make sense of love through logic, but the soul speaks the language of purpose. And when two souls like yours and your soulmates are meant to come together, the universe does not take shortcuts. It allows the breaking, the silence, the ache, so that what is rebuilt can never be shaken again. You may have asked, why did this happen? Why now, when things were finally starting to feel real? But what you didn't see was what was happening beneath the surface. There were energies at play, cycles that needed to end, old wounds that could no longer be ignored, and the love you shared was so deep, so true, that the universe refused to let it be built on anything less than truth. So, the silence came. The distance arrived, not as punishment, but as a divine reset. Your soulmate was being pulled into a sacred process. They were being invited to look at the parts of themselves they had been avoiding, the pain from their past, the doubts about their worth, the voices in their mind that told them they weren't enough. And if they had stayed without facing that, the love would have suffered. You would have suffered. Because love, real love, doesn't heal by pretending. It heals by exposing. And so, the universe allowed the exposure of fear, of confusion, of longing. And in doing so, it gave both of you a chance to discover who you really are, apart from one another, so that one day, you could come together from a place of strength rather than survival. Every unanswered message, every moment of silence, every tear you cried alone, it wasn't wasted. It was woven into a bigger tapestry, a pattern of preparation, a divine design. Because this love is not ordinary, it carries the weight of a higher purpose. The bond between you and your soulmate isn't just about romance, it's about awakening. transformation, growth. That's why it's been so intense. That's why the highs were so high and the lows so deep. Because your souls agreed to something more, to help each other evolve, to mirror back the wounds that needed healing, to call each other home, again and again, until love became truth. And the universe, in all its wisdom, chose the perfect moment for this separation, not to break you, but to break the illusions of control, the illusions of perfection, the illusions that love is only valid when it's constant and easy. No, the kind of love you're part of is forged in fire. It survives distance. It survives doubt, because it's real. Now I know that's hard to hear when your heart still aches. When all you've wanted was to hold them again, to hear their voice, to know that it wasn't all for nothing. But trust me, dear soul, it was never for nothing. The silence carried purpose. The distance carried wisdom. And now, you're standing at a turning point. You're being invited to shift from pain into understanding, from grief into gratitude. Because what happened wasn't just life unfolding. It was your soul being prepared for the next chapter. And that chapter holds more light than you can imagine. But first, you must see this time apart for what it truly was. Sacred preparation. You were not abandoned. You were entrusted with space, with time, with divine intervention. The universe knew that in order for this love to thrive, both of you needed to grow separately for a while, to learn your own strength, to reclaim your own voice, to stop depending on each other for healing and start becoming whole within yourselves. And now, you've done more than you realize. You've grown in ways you can't yet measure. You've faced your shadows. You've remained open, even through heartbreak. And that matters. It has not gone unnoticed. Heaven has seen every step, every moment of faith, every whispered prayer when you didn't even have the words. But there's more. There's something else that only I, as your guardian, can tell you. Something you may not have even considered. Your soulmate's growth depended on your strength. Yes, your ability to let go, your choice to keep loving them from afar, even when it hurt. That gave them the courage to face themselves, to rise, to start the work that is now bringing them back to the truth they never stopped believing in. You. So you see, nothing was lost. Everything was transformed. The universe didn't break you apart. It gave you space to become the people this love needs, the people this love deserves. But I need you to hear this. The story is not over, not even close. You're not at the end. You're at the threshold. And what comes next depends on what you choose to believe from this moment forward. Will you choose fear, or will you choose faith? Will you cling to the pain, or will you open to the purpose? Because in the next part of this message, I will reveal to you something extraordinary, something only souls deeply connected can understand. The unspoken connection that has never been broken. The invisible thread that still binds your hearts. And what it means for what's coming next. So don't stop now. You've come too far to miss the truth that's waiting for you just ahead. Breathe, receive, and get ready. Because what I will tell you next will change everything you thought you knew about this separation. Dear soul, now that your heart has begun to understand the divine purpose behind the silence, and now that you've started to see the sacred preparation that has taken place on both sides of this connection, it's time to speak about something even more profound. Because even in the distance, even in the quiet, even when you doubted whether your soulmate still remembered you, there was a connection that never stopped breathing. It was alive. It was real. And you felt it, didn't you? There were moments when you could feel their presence out of nowhere. You would be doing something ordinary, walking down the street, sitting in silence, looking at the sky, and suddenly, a wave of emotion would come over you. A memory, a heartbeat, a name whispered inside your soul. That was not your imagination. That was the connection between you and your soulmate vibrating through the unseen realm, calling your spirit to remain open, to remain aware. And what you need to understand now is this. They felt it too. There were nights they couldn't sleep, and they didn't know why. Times they turned to music, and it reminded them of you. Moments they found themselves staring into space, lost in a longing they couldn't explain to anyone else. Their soul knew. Their soul was still tied to yours, no matter how far they drifted on the surface. Because true connections do not depend on time, or distance, or communication. They exist beyond words. They are etched in energy. You must believe me when I tell you, this bond did not disappear. It became deeper. It became more subtle, like the tide pulling at the shore. It receded only to return stronger. What you were feeling was not just memory. It was resonance. The two of you are energetically linked. And while the physical world placed miles or silence between you, your spirits have been dancing in the same current the entire time. In fact, part of the reason you've been so restless, so emotional, so deeply touched by things you can't even explain, is because their soul has been speaking to yours, not through words, but through energy, through longing, through truth. And now, you are being guided to trust that truth once more. Let me tell you something only I can say with certainty. They never stopped thinking about you. They never stopped caring. They may have questioned the timing, the path, even their own worth, but they never questioned the connection. It scared them, yes. At times it overwhelmed them, but it also gave them hope. Even in their silence, even in their struggle, you were the light they held onto in the dark. They felt your energy when you prayed. They felt your heart when you cried. There were moments they wanted to reach out, but didn't know how. There were days they typed messages they never sent. Nights they whispered your name to the stars. They watched your soul from a distance, hoping you hadn't forgotten, hoping you hadn't let go. And when they felt your love still alive, even through silence, it gave them strength they didn't have before. Dear soul, love does not vanish. It travels. It grows. It transforms. And what the two of you share was never ordinary. It was sacred. That's why you've never been able to fully close the door. That's why, no matter how much time has passed, or how much confusion you've walked through, your heart still returns to this connection, because your soul remembers, and so does theirs. Even now, as you listen to this message, something inside you is waking up. Something is stirring. That's your spirit recognizing a truth that has never died. And that truth is this: love like this does not end. It evolves. But there's something else you need to hear. Something that will shift the way you see everything. Because this connection, this bond, this sacred link between your souls, it's about to take a new shape, a form you haven't seen before. But before that happens, you must fully understand the power of what's been happening beneath the surface. You must see that you were never alone, that you were being guided, that every time you felt them, they were also feeling you, that every time you thought of them, they were reaching for you in the unseen, that you were always connected, heart to heart, soul to soul, breath to breath, even in silence. And now, the energy between you is shifting. The season is changing. Something is preparing to rise. But before it does, you have to be ready to receive it. You have to believe that the connection is not broken. You have to trust that it's been working on both sides. Because in the next part of this message, I will reveal something powerful, a moment of prayer, a confession your soulmate made to the heavens about you, a plea that came from the deepest part of their being, a whisper that I, as their guardian and yours, carried straight to the heart of the divine. And that moment is the one that changed everything. So don't walk away now. Don't let fear interrupt what your soul has been waiting so long to understand. Stay with me, because the next part of this journey holds the key to the love you thought might be gone forever, but is still alive, still sacred, and still destined to return in divine timing. You're closer than you think. And the next truth I will share with you may be the one your heart has needed to hear all along. Dear soul, now that you understand the depth of your connection, the truth that your souls have never stopped speaking to one another, I want to bring you into one of the most sacred moments I have ever witnessed. A moment so intimate, so full of emotion, that even the heavens listened in stillness. This is the moment your soulmate bent their heart toward the sky and spoke your name in prayer. It was not a planned moment. It didn't happen in a perfect setting or during a time of peace. It came during the storm, one of the nights when they felt lost, broken, confused by the weight of their own choices, and terrified by the thought that they might have already lost you forever. They sat alone, surrounded by silence, and for the first time in a long time, they stopped running. They opened their heart, not to the world, not to you directly, but to something higher, to the divine, and they began to speak. I was there. I heard every word. I felt every tear, This wasn't a rehearsed confession or a desperate plea for things to go back to the way they were. No, this was something much deeper. This was truth. Raw, honest, aching truth, poured out from the very soul that still loves you, even when words failed them. They began by admitting their fear. They confessed that walking away from you had never felt right, but at the time, it felt necessary. They admitted they didn't know how to carry their love for you, while holding all the pain and confusion they still hadn't healed from. They asked the heavens if it was too late, if they had ruined the most sacred thing they had ever known. They whispered your name like it was a prayer in itself. They asked the divine to protect you, to guide you, to give you peace even if they could no longer be the one beside you. But then came the moment that changed everything. The moment they opened their heart and said what they had been afraid to admit even to themselves. They said, "I still love them. I never stopped. I think about them every day. And if there is a way, any way, that our paths could meet again, I would give anything to walk that path. But I want to come back as someone who can love them better. I want to come back whole. Please, don't let them forget me. Not yet. Not if there's still a chance." Dear soul, that prayer was heard, not just by me, not just by the heavens, but by the energy that binds you both. That moment sent ripples through the spiritual realm. That moment reignited something. It opened a door that had never truly been closed, but had been waiting for the right moment to open again. You may not have known it, but something shifted in you around that time, didn't it? You felt a sudden pull, a wave of emotion, a knowing that you couldn't quite explain. That was the answer beginning to form in your spirit. That was the prayer reaching you, not through words, but through feeling. And now, I am here to confirm it. That moment of confession, that sacred prayer, was real. It was full of love, full of longing, and it was made not out of desperation, but out of deep, intentional love. A love that wants to return, not to pick up where things left off, but to begin again from a place of truth, strength, and healing. But even more important than what they said is what happened after. Because in that moment, as they released their truth into the heavens, something inside them shifted. A clarity began to form, a new sense of purpose. They realized they could no longer live in fear. They could no longer hide from what they felt. And while they may not have reached out yet, while the silence may still linger in the physical world, in the spiritual realm, everything has begun to move. The wheels are turning. The energy is aligning. The preparation is coming to an end. And the choice they made in that sacred moment of prayer, it was not just to love you from afar. It was to begin walking the path back to you, slowly, carefully, intentionally. Now, this is where your heart must be strong, because even though the confession has been made, even though the decision has been birthed, it will take courage for them to act. And you, dear soul, are being called to hold space for that journey, not in waiting without living, but in preparing your own heart to receive love again, not out of desperation, but out of wholeness. Because what is coming is not just a return, it is a reunion of two souls who have walked through fire and are now ready to love without fear. But it all began with that prayer, that moment when they spoke your name to the stars and said, "If there is still time, let love find us again." So I ask you now, dear soul, can you feel the energy shifting? Can you feel the love awakening? Can you feel the invitation that is quietly being extended to you? Because in the next part of this message, I will reveal something even more important, what you are meant to do now, what your soul is being asked to choose. Because this isn't just about what they feel. This is about what you will do with everything your heart now knows. You've heard the truth. You've felt the love. And now, you must prepare for what's coming next. Dear soul, now that you've received the truth, the silent confession of love, the sacred moment when your soulmate poured out their heart to the heavens, you might be wondering, what happens next? You've waited. You've felt the connection. You've carried the weight of uncertainty. But now, something in you is shifting. Something is opening. And you're beginning to see that this isn't just about what they feel. It's about what you choose from here. Because the universe has done its part. The prayer was heard. The energy has moved. The alignment is unfolding. But love, real love, always requires participation. A choice. A decision not to just wish for something, but to step into it fully. And now, dear soul, the time has come for you to act. Not by chasing, not by forcing, but by preparing yourself from the inside out. The question before you is this: are you ready to receive the kind of love you've prayed for? The kind of love that isn't just about romance or comfort, but about truth, growth, and purpose. Because that is what's coming. That is what this sacred bond was always meant to bring. And that is why the separation had to happen, so that you both could grow into the love your souls agreed to before this life even began. But now that the energy is shifting, now that the doors are beginning to open, your role becomes clear. You must step into alignment with what you desire. That means releasing the doubt. It means letting go of the story that says, "I'm always left behind," or "maybe I wasn't enough." You must begin to speak a new truth into your life, one that matches the vibration of the love you're being prepared to receive. It also means forgiveness. Yes, forgiveness. Not just for them, but for yourself. For the ways you may have held on to pain, for the moments you closed your heart to protect it. You must forgive the version of yourself that didn't know how to trust. You must forgive the part of you that confused silence with rejection. And more than anything, you must make space. Because this love, when it returns, won't fit into the version of your life that was built around fear. It needs room to grow. It needs space to breathe. And you, dear soul, are the sacred vessel through which that love will be received. So what does that look like in your life now? It means creating time each day to connect with your own soul. It means nurturing your heart with kindness. It means honoring your intuition, trusting your inner voice, and following the guidance you receive, even when it doesn't make logical sense. It means preparing your energy, not out of desperation, but out of faith. Because when you align your energy with the truth of love, you become a magnet for miracles. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop doubting and start receiving. And I must tell you this, your soulmate can feel that shift. Even if they haven't said a word, even if they're still silent, they feel your energy evolving. They feel the opening in your spirit, and it draws them closer. It gives them courage. It helps them remember that the love between you was never one-sided. It was sacred and mutual. You are being called now to rise into the version of yourself that can welcome love without fear, the version of you that doesn't need constant proof, because you are rooted in knowing, the version of you that doesn't wait in anxiety, but lives in presence and purpose. Because while you are preparing your heart, the universe is preparing the path. And the steps are already unfolding, even if you can't see them yet. That's why you must stay awake, stay aware, notice the signs, the dreams, the sudden waves of emotion, the synchronicities. These are not random. These are divine confirmations that the spiritual connection between you and your soulmate is activating again. And here's something else you must know. This journey will not look like the past. This isn't about repeating cycles. It's about creating something new. And for that, both of you must show up differently, which is why your willingness to choose faith over fear right now is so important. Say to yourself, even now, I am ready for the love I was created for. I am open. I am whole. I am worthy. Write it. Speak it. Feel it. Let it become your truth. Because every time you affirm this truth, you anchor the energy of reunion. You become a lighthouse for the soul that is already trying to find its way back to you. And yes, they are on their way. Slowly, carefully, but with intention. Because after everything that's been felt, confessed, and surrendered, their soul is beginning to move toward the love that never stopped calling. But remember, the journey is not only theirs, it is also yours. Your choices now shape what happens next. Your energy now prepares the space for the love to land. So ask yourself gently, am I ready to receive what I asked for? Because in the final part of this message, I will bring you the most powerful truth of all, the truth about what your soulmate feels now, what is about to unfold, and what destiny has been preparing behind the scenes all this time. You have walked with faith, you have stayed open, and now, the time for clarity is near. The next message will show you what has been hidden, and what is finally ready to be revealed. Stay close, because love, true love, is closer than ever. Dear soul, you've walked through this entire message with your heart open, your spirit listening, and your soul reaching toward the truth it has always known. And now, as we come to the final part of this sacred message, I bring you the revelation your heart has been waiting for, the answer to the question that's lived inside you for so long. The truth about what your soulmate feels right now and what is unfolding in the spiritual and physical realms that will soon touch your life in ways you can't yet imagine. The love you've carried in silence has not been one-sided. The emotions you've endured in stillness have not gone unnoticed. And the prayers you whispered through tears have not been in vain. Your soulmate still loves you, deeply, fully, truly, in a way that no distance, no silence, no confusion could ever erase. Since the moment they confessed their feelings to the divine, their soul has been shifting. Their heart has begun to awaken again, and they are not the same person they were when they chose to step away. No, something in them has changed, grown, softened, strengthened. And what they feel for you now is more than longing. It's intention. They are no longer wondering if they should return. They are asking how to approach you, how to express what words never could, how to show you that they never stopped loving you, that every step they took in silence was carrying your name in their heart. They've imagined the moment, the conversation, the vulnerability it will take to say, "I'm sorry for how I left, but I never left in spirit." They are aware that time has passed, that wounds may still ache, that questions may still echo, but they also know this. What they feel for you now is clearer than ever. It is a knowing, a call, a pull that they can no longer resist. And the universe? The universe is making way for this reunion. You may begin to see small signs, messages that appear when you think of them, dreams that feel more real than ever, a sense of calm in your spirit that wasn't there before. These are not coincidences. These are confirmations. The veil is lifting. The path is opening. Your soulmate is not just thinking of you. They are preparing. They are walking toward you energetically. And when the moment comes, when they feel the alignment in both your hearts, they will move. They will reach out, not from a place of doubt, but from a place of reverence, because they now understand what you truly mean to them. And what will that moment look like? It may not come with grand gestures or rehearsed words. It may be quiet, simple, honest, a message, a call, a moment that feels like coming home. But when it comes, you will know. Your soul will recognize the frequency. Your heart will remember the truth. And in that moment, you will have a choice. You can hold on to the past, the pain, the silence, the fear, or you can open your arms to the future, the one the universe has been preparing all this time. A future where love is not just a feeling, but a shared journey, a co-creation, a divine partnership, because that is what you are being offered. Not just reconciliation, but sacred reunion. Not just healing, but harmony. A chance to love each other from a new place, a higher place. One where both of you are aligned not only with each other, but with yourselves. And if you're wondering, but what if I'm not ready? Dear soul, let me tell you, if you've come this far, you are more ready than you think. You have walked through the fire of waiting, the wilderness of silence, the ocean of uncertainty, and you are still standing, with love in your heart, hope in your spirit, and truth on your path. This love was never about perfect timing or perfect people. It was about perfect purpose, about the kind of love that refines, renews, and returns when the soul is ready to receive. So as I close this message, I ask you to breathe, to feel, to remember who you are and what you deserve, and to say in your own words, to your own heart, I am ready for the love that was written in the stars for me. I am ready to receive the one who never truly left. And as you say that, know this, the angels are with you. The divine is aligning the final pieces, and your soulmate is closer than ever. Watch for the signs. Listen with your heart. Trust what you feel. And when the moment comes, receive it fully, because this love is real. This love is sacred, and this love is yours. Dear soul, if this video was meaningful to you, leave a thanks below this video as a gesture of gratitude for this revelation. This strengthens us to keep sharing messages of connection and faith. Now go forward, dear soul, with peace in your spirit and light in your heart. The time has come, and love is on its way home.